I'm kinda scared of these ghosts. Gonna add some of the famous ghosts from the Ghostbusters movies and cartoon from this redo of the original 80s Kenner action figures of the real Ghostbusters. We'll just open them all up, talk about their features or lack of features or whatever they've got, and why I wanted to add them to my old school collection, these recreations, instead of finding the original 80s ones. Grab the Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man here. This one actually has the Who You Gonna Call on the top, which apparently was removed in later releases of these due to legal issues with the song. Oh, that's a lyric from the song. Pretty faithfully recreated from the originals, even the card backs. So this is of the very early wave of these toys back in the 80s. Had the Marshmallow Man and the Green Ghost, as well as the Ghostbusters themselves, in their appearance from the cartoon. And Mr. Stay-Puft was actually in several episodes of the cartoon. No, he is not the logo ghost dancing around. He's pretty big. I probably would have got like a bigger box release instead of an on-card release and had a really huge Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man, because right here we've got no articulation on the legs, just the arms turn. You can turn them down, but he's kind of got a wide arm length, and then the head turns. So we only have 3 points of articulation, and he's not that impressively big. So I feel like he probably should have had some kind of feature. Should have had some marshmallow goo to ooze or do something with, or maybe a transform feature that he was like burned like the movie or something, maybe something from the show. He has kind of a squishy body in that way. That might have just been to save on plastic, or else he would have been really heavy. He's just full of air. But a famous character, obviously, from the film, transferred over into the cartoon and used as an enemy and a friend whenever, whatever was needed for the show. But kind of lacking in any features. I mean, you just gotta have him for the visual there of having the big Stay-Puft Marshmallow Man. Wish he would have been bigger or had some kind of feature, but still good to have for the display and collection of the Ghostbusters. So, of course, the other very famous ghost, the Green Ghost, as the packaging will say. Slimer, as most people probably know him by. The Food Ghost, Eating Ghost, another good enemy to have to play with, although by then I think a lot of people identified Slimer as kind of a good ghost that helped the Ghostbusters. One of those side characters that kind of end up taking over the show almost as the main character. But using the original release wave of the toys. But again, another faithful card back recreation. He just has some accessories here, like I assume this is some kind of steak or chunk of meat. It's just a flat plastic, nothing special there. Oh, it is soft though, didn't know that. Pretty good looking pizza with the detail of the cheese and pepperonis and a bite. A watermelon slice, you just picked this because it was an easy shape, go figure. So Slimer, or the Green Ghost here. Big open mouth, but just molded that way. We got the arms go around. I don't think they're meant to have any other movement, but they are soft plastic. It does have his tail that can kind of go up. It's kind of doing a horizontal motion, or you point it down like in the packaging, flying up. Another one that's just kind of famous for the visual from the movie and show, but it's kind of oversized to be the cartoon one, even though that's what he's supposed to be. A very large Slimer, if that's the case. Usually he's depicted as a little smaller. But again, no feature here. I think there was better Slimer toys released later that looked maybe more like the cartoon or had features that were cool. Can't really do a whole lot with his food items. They don't really stay in. You can kind of play around, but you can't hold or do much with them. So they're just kind of a nothing accessory to put next to it. But just for my kind of displaying of these redos of the original toys, instead of hunting down the higher priced originals, because I didn't really have too much Ghostbusters toys as a kid, so kind of a line I always wanted lots of stuff of, never got to have. But these redos are awesome chances to get pretty faithful recreations of the old 80s version. It's still good to have the Green Ghost, quote unquote, the original Slimer action figure. Blech. So those two are from the 1986 release of the toys originally. Of course, these are from 2020 re-releases. So here we have the Bug-Eye Ghost, actually released in 1987 originally. So this is actually a later release. They're not just making these redos in full chronological order of their release. This is a 2021 remake of a 2087 action figure, the Bug-Eye Ghost. Not really one that made an appearance until the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie. He actually got to be in the films that way. It's a great thing to add in to a modern movie. So he's a creepy looking dude, very much the style of the cartoon show. But we just have movement in the arms. He's a little squishy. Very squishy. And then of course the big eyeball here. We got a string. I think he's hollow because he can kind of be filled with air, because there's not really a button mechanism for this. But on the back of the box it shows you got to use a karate chop. He can shoot his eyeball out. Bloop. So it kind of depends on you how hard you're going to hit it to get the eyeball to shoot out. Am I just bad at shooting eyeballs? Of course it's kind of tethered to the string as well. And get some knots in there. Kind of see down in there. Just kind of tied in there. But it can't really store a whole lot of air. Not one of those cool eyeball toys that used to have the water inside. You ever have one of those? Those were always cool. It's just solid plastic with a covering, but it's a pretty cool eyeball. What a feature. He can hold his own eye. Now if that ain't worth the money, then I don't know what would be. But at least he does have a feature. He's not really a known ghost, but now he kind of is after some newer movies have come out. So more famous just being one of the toys of the time. Must have been an easy one for them to produce instead of some of the slime shooting ones where they have to include the slime, and that's probably a whole big deal to re-release. So that's why he had some from 86, this one's from 87, and all the way from 1989 toward the end of the Ghostbusters toy line. Apparently a very popular one, the Fearsome Flush. This thing gave me some nightmares back in the day. Never had it, but always saw it on the toy shelves and stuff like that. Always made me double check the toilet, make sure there wasn't something controlling it from inside. Again, not chronologically released or anything like that, 1989, but very famous toy. Of course, this one I got shipped to me as I was trying to hunt down these re-releases. Crushed, so you know, no worries cracking it open. But another faithful card recreation of the original toy. Packaging makes it seem bigger than it is. So again, in kind of 80s to 90s style, the kind of gross humor, you got a toy, it's a toilet. There's a Ghostbuster symbol on the seat, just like mine here at my house. And note that there are some wheels here on the bottom. There we can see the difference that this is a 2021 release, not the original 89. Sadly, a Ghostbuster or figure can't sit on the top because the wheels don't let the balance occur. They even have the little whatchamacallit on the real toilet. What the? That's some quality toilet detail. But it just seems like a normal toilet, of course. But then you roll. Wow! The ghost pops out. You just kind of roll the wheel to get it to open up. You got the nasty looking bloodshot eyes in there, some gunk on the toilet seat, and the tongue. Ugh, look out, that'll get you clean. Thankfully they didn't go too big on the teeth, like on the packaging. Looks really creepy. I think this toy would have been horrifying if the teeth could come up, but since the lid has to be able to close, they couldn't have them come up too far. So a very funny one, and it's still just another ghost enemy for your Ghostbusters action figures to deal with. You know, they kind of came with their own ghosties. You know, these are kind of like the small-time enemies, like in a video game, you know, you're beaten throughout the level. These bigger action figures like Fearsome Flush and all that, these are kind of like the boss fights, you know? These were like the bigger toys you would play with. A little more challenging for the Ghostbusters to catch these ghosts. So it's great to be able to get these kind of original toys, even though they're re-releases, still recreations of the originals. Opened up the original redos of the Ghostbusters, and then we'll be opening up the Ecto-1 car as well. I wouldn't mind a few more figures from old Hasbro to re-release under the Kenner flag again. You want to watch the next Ghostbuster toy video, or I open up plenty of other retro action figure stuff here. If you want to get subscribed to make sure you don't miss any of those. So I'll see you in the next video.